K Classic, K Classic, K Classic. Corner music.
Hold up. Listen, the song's crazy. You know, I got an idea though. Make it a little crazy.
You can't stop this here. You can't top this tier. Work too hard, my God. I'ma play my card. I'ma leave your atmosphere. It's so toxic. And I hear your gossip. I'm aware they plotting, but I got no option. And I can't be stopped. I'ma keep on walking. And my power and my purpose and that.
Thank you for tuning in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community. The only station giving you double the information and inspiration. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. The sponsor for today's show is Our Voices LLC, a writing and editing consulting firm and entertainment studio, ready to help you tell your story your way. For more information, go to our Facebook page at www.facebook.com/Our Voices LLC. Today's show is Spice Up My Dialogue, Please. If you were with me last week, we discussed how to construct solid moments filled with tension, conflict, purpose, and goals that push the story forward. We've discussed how the character's ultimate decisions and consequential actions inform the moments the audience experiences. Now we've got to touch on the language used to make that story come alive. Dialogue is the verbal movement of the moment to ensure that character, exposition, and subtext are released in impactful ways. How does this happen? Through language choice. Language. Storyteller choice for story tone. What is your language choice for the story? Are you trying to have straight conversation? Meaning it's going to be the language of today. Common, everyday conversation. Nothing interesting, nothing extra, but something that will be long lasting beyond when you actually do your piece. Then there's the inner dialogue. We hear what the characters think and not just see. I know I'm getting ready to date myself, but it's all right. Think of the TV show Ally McBeal. The movie Two Can Play That Game. Both of those pieces had moments where the character broke the quote-unquote proverbial fourth wall and talked to the audience about what they were thinking. For plays, like I said, this will be breaking the fourth wall. We call them speaking in soliloquies, directly to the audience. Then the next kind is stylized. Here, the sky's the limit. Is the piece a traditional musical, using lyrics to express character emotional moments like in Cats, Les Miserables, or later Rent? Do we use contemporary music to create a spin on musicals like Hamilton? Or perhaps poetry is your preference? Do you want to express yourself like the movie Black Nativity, or the play, not the movie, for colored girls who've considered suicide when the rainbow is enough? Character word choices. How does each character speak? Do they use contemporary slang? Or do they speak the King's English in every situation, hitting all of their endings? Do they have a potty mouth? Or is less is more their motto? Do they have a speech impediment? Or perhaps a dialect, which always betrays their home roots and the way they put words together? What is the language of the world you're trying to create? You have to make each character distinct. How does one do that? My favorite is just to interview the characters. Sit down, ask your characters questions. What's going on in their minds? How do they speak on a day-to-day basis? How do they speak when they're angry? How do they speak when they're excited? What is their word choice in all of those situations? When you are creating your characters and you're creating a language for them, consider their age, their gender, their socioeconomic bracket, ethnicity, hometown, education or lack thereof, spirituality, politics. The list is infinite. Also consider the emotional move of the scene. What's really going on? Are your characters excited? I know when I've got a good friend who is Jamaican. And anytime that we are together, it's like he doesn't have the accent whatsoever. But when he gets around family, it breaks. And I have to truly listen to truly understand what the family is talking about. Are your characters enraged? I knew some Latinx sisters who, when we were just having conversation, things were fine. But my goodness, when they got angry, Spanglish came out. Would be very interesting. One moment they're speaking English, the next minute they're speaking Spanish, and it goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But if that's your character, that's the language you need to use. Are your characters afraid? Once they get afraid, do they stutter? Do they have particular words that they use when they stutter? Are your characters insecure? Are they confident? What's really the emotional push of what's going on with your characters? That's when you'll choose the words that they use. Perhaps when they're speaking in front of business colleagues, they use your SAT words, the $5 words. You know the ones I'm talking about. But when they get around family and friends, all that goes straight out the window. And they're just very relaxed. Language is loose and things are very easy. There's one language that you speak with your family. There's another that you speak in the street, and everybody knows that. Then you've got to find out who your character is interacting with. The conversation that you have with a boss and the words that you use there is not the same conversation you're going to have with a peer. It's not the same conversation you're going to have with a friend. It's not the same conversation you're going to have with a frenemy. It's not the same conversation you're going to have with an enemy. We have word choices for everything. And as writers, we've got to figure that out. We've got to know who is this character to this other character. Know that relationship. So that way you know the conversation they should have. The conversation that I have with my mom is not going to be the conversation I have with my husband. It's not going to be the conversation I have with my child. It's not going to be the conversation that I have with a good girlfriend. It's not going to be a conversation that I have with someone I just met down the street. All the words will be different. You as the writer have to figure out what words you're using, how you're using them, and the power that those words have. When we come back, we will continue our discussion on Spice Up My Dialogue. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. You're tuned in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. We'll be right back after the break.
sanctuary tonight. I want you to think about that thing, and I want you to look at somebody. As a matter of fact, grab the hand of the person you're standing next to and lift your hand in the air. That's it. Lift your hand in the air. I don't know what the enemy has been using against you to keep you from being what God wants you to be. But I came to tell somebody that that's about to change. I speak to everything that's been holding you captive, and I command it to let you go, to let you go. Lift your voice and say, God is changing our stuff. God is changing our God is changing us. I know what it looked like before. I know what it felt like before. But He's releasing healing right now. He's releasing healing right now. God is changing. Oh, this won't be my story no more. Lift your hands all over the room and say, this won't be my story no more. That thing that's been keeping you up at night won't be. This won't be my story no more. Having just enough just to get by won't be you. This won't be my story no more. God came to pull you where you belong. Oh yes, He did. This won't be my story no more. God came to break you out of some stuff tonight. Oh yes, He did. This won't be my I don't care how long you've been bound. He came to break you out tonight. Hey, He came to break you out tonight. Yeah, He came to break you out tonight. Lift your hands all over this room. And if don't nobody else get it, read it for your home tonight. As your hands are lifted up high, I need you out of your own mouth to begin to shout in the atmosphere. God is changing my story. Open your mouth and shout it like it. Shout it like it. You want me to say. You want me to say. He's turning that thing around. He's turning it. Somebody open your mouth. Oh no, that won't be your story no more. Everybody say that won't be. That won't be. Lift your hands and say, this won't be mine. One more time like you mean it. This won't be. Now you ought to open your mouth and bless Him like you believe that He's not going to change your story, but He's already changed. I need somebody to open up your mouth and get what is yours tonight. I said get what is yours tonight. I just believe that wherever the Spirit of the Lord is, everything you need is there. Open your mouth.
Welcome back to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, on Our Voices Radio. And I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. In the last segment, I spoke about the importance of choosing the language of the story and your characters. In this segment, we'll explore the mechanics of strong dialogue. One of the first things that I tell my clients is when they're trying to build their dialogue is to enter the scene late and leave early for conversation. Find the heart of the conversation and stay there. You don't have to have a whole lot of build if you've done your visuals properly, if we're talking about film or television, and even in plays. Especially in those particular mediums, you want to let your visuals do most of the work and allow your dialogue to be that next level. When writing a strong scene, the dialogue should be the accent. Good dialogue deletes the verbal utterances, well, etc. Good dialogue hits the heart of the matter at hand. When you're having your dialogue, it's not always explaining what's going on. It's what's the next level or the next layer you want to talk about that will bring out your characters or their purpose or even exposition. Use long speeches sparingly, especially in screenplays. So with screenplays, your dialogue wants to be snappy. It wants to be pithy. You want to get in and get out. With plays, you can be a little more poetic. You can allow your characters to have a little more room with their language. Television, it's a blend of both, but you don't want to be wordy. If you do use these speeches, you want them for your pivotal characters. Everybody remembers that moment with Papa Pope and the speech that he gave for his particular one. And then there are other characters who also give other speeches, but you want to keep those moments memorable and short. Use words and visuals whenever possible. For theater, make the actors work. That's what they're there for. It's not just to be ahead with some language, but give them some movement, give them some push in every scene. For screenplays, make the visuals work. Allow that dialogue to be that extra layer. For all mediums, when you have a speech, make it powerful and make it memorable. The other thing, avoid redundancy. If you've shown it, then please don't tell it. So if there's something that you've shown in your scene, don't then talk about what you've just shown. Instead, give a whole nother layer. Dialogue should add new information that hasn't been seen already. Next, stay consistent. If the character curses, that should start when we first see them, not halfway in the manuscript. The thing that I hate is if you know that you have a character with a potty mouth, don't wait for that to be a surprise. Let that be part of the character's dimension when they're first introduced, when we first see them on the screen, when we first see them on the page, when they first enter the stage. Let that be what we hear so we understand, oh, that's just that character. As opposed to, woo, because colorful language pushes a mood, can push it right out from where you wanted it. So you want to make sure that you're choosing your words properly. Read your script aloud, by yourself or with friends, because when we're writing in vacuums, we can't really hear what's being said, not unless you read it out loud, and you can hear the different levels of each of your characters, as well as making sure they don't all sound like you. Remember, less is more. You don't have to say a whole lot. Let the scene be what it should be. Sometimes there is beauty in the silence. There's beauty in those muted tones. There's beauty in not saying anything at all. That in and of itself is good dialogue. After the break, we'll wrap up our discussion on Spice Up My Dialogue, Please. You're tuned in to WDRBmedia, the voice of the community, the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. Don't go anywhere, because we'll be right back.
Like you. No one else can touch my heart like you do. I could search for all eternity, Lord, and find there is none like you. There is none like you. Nobody compares. No one else can touch my heart like you do, Jesus. Yeah, I could search for all eternity, Lord, and find that there is none like you. There is none like you, God. Oh yeah. No one else can touch my heart like you do. I could search for all eternity, Lord, and find that there is none like you. Victory belongs to Jesus. Victory belongs to Jesus. Victory belongs to Him. Oh, oh. Victory belongs to Jesus. Victory belongs to Him. Oh.
have to do is put your trust in Him. Put your trust in Him. Put your trust in Him. No matter what you're going through, no matter what you're facing right now, let me tell you, He's a faithful God. It doesn't matter whatever situation you may find yourself in right now. Don't lose hope. He's a faithful God. He will never forsake you. He will never leave you. He says in the scriptures that I will be with you until the end of time. Just trust in Him.
Welcome back to WDRB Media, the voice of the community, and those streaming live through free TuneIn Radio app and through iHeartRadio. You're listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife. If you're just tuning in, we're discussing Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, on Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the creative midwife, trained, willing, and able to help you discover your creative voice and birth it for the world through whatever medium you choose to use. Last segment, we were talking about the mechanics of strong dialogue. And one of the pieces I want to go back to is about reading your script out loud by yourself or with friends. Here's why this tool can be really useful. Sometimes when we're writing, we could be reading it out loud in our same voice and thinking that each of the characters are different. But it's only when you put it in front of other people, they add their spice on top of it, can you really see what it is that you have. Some of my best work or best rewrite work has come from readings. Being able to pass my script around to fellow actors, have them each take a part and say, okay, let's see what we really have in here. And really talk about and hear the characters, hear what words are on the page and what's not. Hear if dialogue is working and if it's not. Hear if the actors are understanding what you've put on the page or if they don't. Readings are wonderful ways to allow yourself to pull out that information, to hear it for what it is, and then you're able to go back to a rewrite. And yes, I do believe in rewrites. Rewrites are your friends. It's the best way to get the most out of your work. It's the best way to figure out how to sharpen. It's how you can find the wonderful diamonds that are in the rough. But this is one of the reasons why you read your scripts out loud. And sometimes when you have those particular readings, actors can tell you what's really working and what really isn't. They can read a line, and if it reads false to you, it probably is. They can read a line and you thought that it was flat, and it might not be. It may actually be really funny or really hard-hitting or whatever emotion that you were going for. But that's one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons, why I definitely want you to be able to hear your work outside of your own mind. In this next segment, we're talking about the words that the characters say to one another become pivotal to the scene itself and the overall story push. Every word, line, and silence in dialogue becomes the moment when the writer must decide if the words reveal purpose, character, or story. Look, the bottom line is this, you guys. Make every line of dialogue count. There are no throwaway lines or filters. If what the characters has to say has no purpose, then delete the passages. I mean, you can have a beautiful garden, but if you're standing there looking at the weeds, pluck up the weeds. That means all bad dialogue that doesn't need to be there. Get rid of it. Your pages are real estate that every scene, character, and line of dialogue must earn to have the right to exist. All right, it's that time again. Bookshelf. In this case, movie shelf. That's right, more homework. So here are some of my recommended movies that have strong dialogue that keep the audience glued to their chairs. One of them are the Jesse Stone series by Robert B. Parker. It is TV at its best in terms of great dialogue, in terms of a story push, in terms of a series holding together. The next one I'm recommending is a movie called My Happy Family by Nana Ekvitimish-Sheveli. It's a Sundance film. Yes, it's a foreign film, and I'm one of those people who enjoy foreign films, and I enjoy finding out what other people around the world are writing about. And this particular one just had some really nice dialogue. So if you can find My Happy Family on Netflix, check it out. The next one, of course, is Hidden Figures by author Margot Lee Shetterly, screenwriters Allison Schroeder and Theodore Melfi. If you can find those particular pieces, I'm telling you, they will definitely teach you about strong dialogue. Join us next week as we continue our discussion with Spice Up My Dialogue, Please, Part 2. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Continue to tune in every Friday at 2:30 p.m. Please remember to connect with me by going to WDRBmedia.com, click on the Radio Shows tab, and go to Our Voices radio page. Also, if you want to be a guest on the show or want free advertising, reach me on my website at NicholeMPalmer.com. That's NicholeMPalmer.com, or go to my Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Our Voices LLC. You can also leave me questions, and I'll answer them on the page. In fact, if you want to leave questions or if you want more information, you'll find it on the Facebook page. You've been listening to Our Voices Radio, and I'm your host, Nichole, the Creative Midwife, on WDRB Media, the voice of the community, for double the information and inspiration. Until next week, thanks and peace. And remember, in the end, you must write the vision and make it plain.
K Classic, K Classic, K Classic. Corner music.
Listen, the song's crazy. You know, I got an idea, though. Make it a little crazy.
Well, you can't stop this here. You can't top this tier. Work too hard, my God. I'ma play my card. I'ma leave your atmosphere. It's so toxic. And I hear your gossip. I'm aware they plotting, but I got no option. And I can't be stopped. I'ma keep on walking. And my power and my purpose and that backbiting so worthless. And my faith on and it's working. I'm one of one and I'm certain that I won the battle. It's over. We did it. I'm Silk. I'm C. I'm P. No limit. Can't stop it. It's me and Corin in the pocket. Got the plug in the socket.
They told you that you couldn't do it cause you're washed up. Ain't like them bad girls said you should get your sauce up. But I got this plan and you might not understand. I'ma go hard as I can and I'm gonna be the boss of it. And just watch me do this, put no limits on the swag on it. Walk right up to the front where I belong and brag on it. Go to the top, I'ma give it all I got. Might take a lot, but we ain't gonna ever stop. I do believe I'm something special. Can't take that from me. So you can say what you want, I go harder, stronger, be who I'm supposed to be. Cause I'm unstoppable, I get all the way in it. That's the way I was made and I'm up on my business. Cause I'm unstoppable, ain't no hoping and wishing. Say a prayer, catch a wave, then I go out and get it. Cause I can be what I want, try it if I want. Empowered by the king and he won't let me fall. Cause I'm unstoppable, nah, he won't let me fall. About it, I go get it, that's how I do it. Not in the stars, I'm not lucky, I just pray through it. Fall on my face and I might make mistakes, but I don't let it break me, cause I'm still on my way. I do believe I'm something special. Can't take that from me. So you can say what you want, I go harder, stronger, be who I'm supposed to be. Cause I'm unstoppable, I get all the way in it. That's the way I was made and I'm up on my business. Cause I'm unstoppable, ain't no hoping and wishing. Say a prayer, catch a wave, then I go out and get it. Cause I can be what I want, try it if I want. Empowered by the king and he won't let me fall. Cause I'm unstoppable, nah, he won't let me fall. Cause I'm unstoppable. Come what may, I rest in his safety. Winds may blow